And then we got the oddball, which is New York. And New York has a number of different reporters that their decisions are recorded in that I guess the only way to describe it is that their system is not totally like all the other regions, and that New York has its own. I guess maybe it's because the people in New York are very litigious. So each of these regional reporters that we've looked at here works basically the same way as the Colorado reporter, which I showed you with the key numbers and the head notes. And one other thing that I have not mentioned is that at the beginning of each case in all of these reporters, there is a little one-paragraph summary of what the case is about. For example, this one here, Citicorp Person-to-Person Financial Center versus Fremont National Bank. It came out of the Colorado Court of Appeals, Division 3. The decision issued on April 2nd, 1987. We can tell those things from right up the top there. Then it says, beneficiary under deed of trust brought action seeking determination that it had prior right to proceeds from installment land sale contract pursuant to foreclosed deed of trust and trustee's deed. So basically, if you were looking for a case on banks and you got that far into this thing and you were going, none of this is what I care about, you'd close this book and move on to the next case. But by the same token, if it kind of whets your appetite a little bit, then you would continue on. To go with each of the regional reporters, there's also the equivalent of a Colorado Digest, but it's set up on a regional basis. In this particular instance, I pulled out the ones for Pacific Digest because they would cover the ones in the Pacific region, which includes Colorado. This particular digest starts with volume 585 of Pacific Second, or Pacific Reporter Second Edition. So only things you're going to find in here are cases that are starting with volume 585. Again, this book has your descriptive word index, and then it's arranged alphabetically and updated by pocket part. So here's your table of cases within the Pacific Digest. So now when you're looking at this, you're going to be looking at this for all the cases that are in that particular digest. So you're going to be seeing decisions from Arizona and Idaho and Montana and California, etc. And then here's your defendant plaintiff table. So again, it's set up exactly the same way, same key numbers. And then this is updated about every 10 years. They come out with another edition of it. And so this blue one represents the edition that was prior to the green ones. And it's set up by topic. And again, the most recent pocket part update will be inside the book. One thing that will be invaluable to you as you're doing your research is Shepherd's. And Shepherd's has a volume of books for every book in the library, basically. So if there is something, if there is an authority, and it's cited in a court case, any place, or, cited in a court case, then Shepherd's is going to know where that citation has occurred. This here is Shepherd's for Colorado Citations. That's the one I pulled to demonstrate with. It works for Pacific Reporter, volumes 126 through 300, and Pacific Reporter Second Series, which would be volume 1 on. Okay, and this particular one, Case Edition Part 2, has a 1994 date on it, so it's been updated recently. So one of the things that Shepherd's has is it has a table of abbreviations. And here's an example. SW stands for Southwestern Reporter, which we looked at earlier. SW with a 2 inside the W stands for Southwestern Reporter Second Series. And basically this table of abbreviations covers everything that will be used inside of Shepherd's. Then another section of abbreviations it has is on the following page. Like this little A means affirmed. If it has a CC, it means it's a connected case. A D means dismissed. M means modified. R means reversed. S means same case. A capital S means superseded. A V means vacated. Here's U.S. cert denied, U.S. cert dismissed, U.S. rehearing denied, U.S. rehearing dismissed. And then we've got treatment of the case. And this would be how the court talked about it in the case that the C, this little C appears next to. So if the court criticized it, it'll say C. If they distinguished it, it'll say D, explained it, E, followed it, F, harmonized it, H. A dissenting opinion, that would mean that the case was discussed in dissenting opinion. If it's got a capital L, that means it was a limited. If it has an O, that means the case was overruled, and a P, it means it's a parallel case. Here, at the top of this page, you can tell that what we're looking at is Pacific Reporter cites. Now, if it was talking about Pacific Reporter's second series, it would have a 2D after this right here. Okay, now over in this corner, it says volume 127, so this is working kind of like a dictionary. Here, it changed to volume 128. So on page 56 is the first case that this is talking about occurred. Then you can see that this case, which would have been volume 128, the site would have been 128 P56, and then that was cited in 88 P385, 131 P at 784, right? And here's those little letters that we just looked at, an S. If you look at your table, it'll tell you what that means. A J means the case was discussed in a dissenting opinion. Here's an F. I believe that means it was followed. So this is in 157 Pacific 2nd at page 618. Now this page right here is the exact page that the site occurs on, not the starting point of the case. All right? And so from this you could tell that this particular case has never been overturned, and it's still being cited as recently as volume 729 of Pacific 2nd, which means that's a fairly new case there. Where it was being discussed. Okay, so this is volume 135 of the Pacific Reporter. The case that appears on page 137 of volume 135 was discussed in the following cases. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Okay, so what this is saying is in volume 176 of Pacific Reporter at page 493, this case, which is 135 Pacific 137, was discussed. This one here is telling you that in the dissenting part of the opinion at 87 Pacific 2nd at 750 that the case was discussed. Okay. This right here, 24 COA 458, is telling you that this is the same case that appears in volume 24 of the Colorado Appellate Court Reporter, where only appellate court decisions were recorded, at page 458. Another volume that'll be of use to you is the Shepard's, that talks about constitutional provisions, statutes, court rules, and jury instructions. This is set up so that when you have a constitutional provision, if you are interested in finding out, for example, I wanted to know what Colorado courts had said about juries, and a jury of 6 in criminal proceedings, and a jury of 12 in criminal proceedings. So Article 2, Section 23 of the Colorado Constitution says that I'm guaranteed a trial to a jury of 12 in all criminal matters, and that all civil matters I get 6. And so what I did was I opened up in the Shepard's to Article 2, Section 23, and looked up all the cases that were cited under that particular section of the Constitution. And what that would show me is that would show me every case where the courts ever discussed that particular provision of Article 2, which is Colorado's Bill of Rights. And from that, I was able to find out where I stood as far as why they were not giving me a jury of 12 on the basis of Colorado law. In other words, why is it the Supreme Court wrote the rules that they did? So I had an instance where I was charged with reckless driving. So what I did was I just went to the Shepard's, I looked up that particular statute in the Shepard's, and then it led me to every court case in Colorado where the Supreme and appellate courts ever discussed reckless driving. And so I was able to discover the body of law with respect to that particular statute. So see here where it says 424202, and then it has subdivision 1, and it has a case site, and then underneath subdivision 5 it has 2 more places where this particular statute was discussed. So I don't recognize those abbreviations, so I'd have to go to the table of abbreviations and look that up, and then from there I could go find out where these discussions occurred. And from that you could find out all the places that the courts have discussed the statute. In this particular section, the Shepard's talks about the rules. So here we're starting with rules of civil procedure, and it starts out with Rule 1. Well, underneath Rule 1 is every single place that a Colorado court ever discussed Rule 1 with the site. And so you could go and you could study up everything that ever had to do with Rule 1. So here's the provision in Shepard's for the Colorado Constitution. In this particular case, since Article 2 is our Bill of Rights, we're dealing with